everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. Happy Friday. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. We are live on the channel. I don't even know what day it is. What is today? January 9th, Friday 2026. So if you guys are watching on Friday, give me a thumbs up, say hello in the chat, definitely subscribe to the channel. Click that bell button below so that way you get alerts as to when I am live. I'm always here Friday nights. We alternate between tarot and astrology. This week's gonna be tarot. Next week will be that new moon in Capricorn astrology readings. Those will be fun. And definitely hang out for a bit. And if you guys want to get a reading, or if this is your first time here, scan the QR code. By scanning the QR code, it is going to take you to my PayPal. We are doing 1 card readings for 25, and we're doing, for 20, and we're doing 3 card readings for $40 donation. When you scan the QR code, it's going to take you to my PayPal. Just put your question for what it is that you have, for the tarot, and I'll be doing the readings live. You guys are going to see an overhead shot of the cards, and I'll be answering questions. If we have any level 4 members who wants to get a reading for the month, you guys can cash in, so just let me know. We always take the level 4 readings first. And if you're not a member, why not? Join my memberships. You guys can support me as a full-time content creator. Maybe you've seen some of my videos on YouTube. We do long format horoscopes for the 12 signs. We do new and full moon reports. We've got eclipses coming up soon. We also did an awesome several-hour 2026 astrology video that was touching on all of the major aspects and transits and the themes for 2026. So if you guys like that and you want to support me, consider joining my membership. So you guys can head over to my channel where I have the community and you can see all the different levels and the perks. We've got, shout outs. We've also got the daily horoscope club. And then we've got the level 4 who's going to get a reading with me once a month during one of my lives. All right, so a couple things about the channel. Number 1, we're getting ready to put out the astro weather on Sunday. So if you are already a member, all members actually get early access to my videos. So you guys can go and watch that, talking all about Venus going into Aquarius in this next week, what that means for you and your rising sign as well as the collective. And we're kicking off a rather intense next couple of weeks. As you guys are probably aware, a lot of planets are getting ready to move into Aquarius after spending several weeks in Capricorn. Everything's meeting up with Pluto, so it's going to be transformative to say the least. And we're getting into the energies of the eclipses that we're going to start seeing in this next month. So there's definitely a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack in that video. I encourage you guys to check it out. And if you're a fan of my astrology, I'm actually starting up my Astro 301. We're going to be doing that at the end of January. We've got a few spots left if you want to learn my mastering astrology techniques. I'm going to be talking about all of the techniques that I use in my practice to make predictions and how to find accuracy with working with transits and a few different predictive methods, getting you guys on track if you're wanting to start your own astrological consulting or kind of readings. Click the links below, head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. If you go there, click my courses, you'll be able to see all of the different kind of courses that we're going to have that's going to span over more or less about 8 weeks. Really excited to be back. I haven't been teaching in a couple of years, so we're going to be doing that. And obviously getting ready for eclipse season, so we're going to be sharing with you guys pretty soon what's going to be happening with the eclipses. And much, much more. So make sure you're subscribed. And while you're at my website, please sign up for my newsletter. I don't spam anybody. I don't even send out monthly emails, although I probably should. We just send you guys information when we have webinars or courses or new products. But there's actually really cool stuff on my website. You guys can see personal transit calendars that you can get for like 20, 25 bucks that go directly into your Apple calendar. That will show you your transits and what's kind of happening with your transits. It plugs right into your calendar for Google or Apple, which is like awesome. And it tells you what's happening at any given time. We also have beautiful 2026 calendars, both printed and digital for the wall, that does a tarot reading for each sign every month. We have also got ritual recommendations for all the different signs and all the major astrological transits there. We've been doing those for the last couple of years and you guys really like it. And I've gotten a lot of people who have been asking about this tarot deck. It's sold out. So we sold all of the decks out actually in November. Hopefully we're going to have a second edition at some point in 2026. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely email you guys when these become available if we end up doing that. And we'll kind of get started with the reading. So let me see who I've got in my queue now that I've done all my shameless plugs. And if you guys want to get in the Q, scan the QR code and you can get in there. Sorry, something's wrong with my mic. You know what? I'm not seeing, somebody said, I submitted a payment for a 3-card reading if they'll get the job offer. I'm not seeing the readings coming in. Can you bring me my phone? Because I think PayPal is acting up again. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry guys, sometimes PayPal's been a bit of a nightmare recently. If you've seen some of the recent lives, it's not adjusting to me getting readings. Okay, cool. So I'm now seeing them. So if you hear your name, I've got you. Looks like we've got Ellen, we've got Laura, and we've got Katie. Happy birthday, Katie. I just saw your little message there. So thank you guys for your patience. For Ellen, we're going to start with Ellen, and then we're going to move to Laura, and then we'll take Katie. So Ellen says, hello from Colorado Springs. What's up, Ellen? Hello. Just submitted a PayPal payment for a 3-card reading. When will I get a job offer? Hoping to get an offer from an electrical contractor. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what the tarot says for you. All right, so when can we see a potential job opportunity coming in for Ellen? Got 1, 2, 3. Put these down. These are slippery cards. All right, so the first card that we get for you is the Moon card. The second card that we get for you is the Hierophant. The third card that we get for you, let me adjust this, is the Ace of Wands. Pretty great cards. You've got 2 major arcana cards that are coming up, both the Moon as well as the Hierophant. So I like that at the end of the reading, I'm going to kind of read this backwards, we do see the Ace of Wands. So it is kind of signaling, look, there is going to be a job change, there is going to be an offer, there's going to be a spark, something new is coming in. Wands are generally pretty quick. I mean, you can see something within a matter of like weeks to about maybe a month or so. And it also talks about the energies that revolve around like the fire months. So looking at the timing, there is a possibility that this can be something that is kind of spanning between this most recent full moon that we just had and the incoming new moon that's going to be happening during Taurus season, because the Hierophant deals with Taurus. So that's a big window, okay? So let me go get you the date for that, because I don't even remember when the new moon in Taurus is going to be. Let's look. Looks like it's going to be happening around mid-May, okay? I'm wondering if you know your ascendant sign. I can give you a little bit more information on that and how maybe these 2 energies kind of correlate with your chart. But the Moon card talks about being in a situation where you're like, what's going to happen? Where is it coming from? You know, what do I need to be looking out for? It's also a card that can talk about really needing to tap into your intuition and your gut. And it's about not allowing yourself to get too like freaked out or worried about whether or not there's going to be a job coming in. Okay, so you're a Leo, Aries sun. So in general, okay, what you're going to find is that for Aries suns, I don't know your ascendant, but you are going to be seeing, if you're a Leo rising, then like work stuff is like kicking off now with like the Capricorn new moon. You're going to see right around, I would say the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, there's a new moon in your 6th house, because this is talking about lunar cycles. You're going to see the sun and Mars are kind of moving in conjunction side by side by the 6th house, and it's all actually making trines to Uranus and Taurus, the Hierophant. So even if you don't get a job offer like the second half of the month, that new moon is when you're going to set intentions and you're going to go, okay, I'm releasing any concerns about not bringing work in. I'm going to be starting to kind of create a schedule and focusing on getting in order and making sure that even while you're waiting for stuff to come in, you're keeping busy, or you're continuing your job hunt, or you're going to interviews, or you're, you know, doing what you need to do to kind of keep the ball rolling until you're hearing back from people. What's nice is that it almost kind of feel like, I don't know if you've been looking for a while or you've been waiting for a while to kind of hear back about a response on a particular position, but it's almost like good things are worth waiting for. Like the Hierophant is a card that talks a lot about not only the stability of Taurus and having security and like knowing that you've got job security, but it also talks about being in a position where you're looked at as somebody who is like a leader, or you're looked at as somebody who is a manager, or somebody who is going to be overseeing larger projects, or a professional in your field. So maybe you've been holding out for something that is going to be worth your time. Maybe you have been really doing some soul searching and kind of thinking about, okay, you know, what is actually going to be best for me? And do I just want to take a job, or do I want to find something that's going to be an ideal schedule, location, company, you know, salary? And now getting into that position where, you know, I think you're going to have a little bit more leadership, or you're going to have a little bit more seniority, and people are going to be looking to you to like manage something. So obviously as a Leo rising, you know, I think a little bit about the trines that are going to be happening to Uranus in your 10th house. I also think about how you're kind of going, well, I could do something different. Like I could improvise. Like there could be like a shift, you know, where I'm willing to do a different role or a different position. Flexibility is key. But I think that the Capricorn, you know, transit for a Leo rising is just going to be absolutely killer. Like it's very possible by the end of the month, you get like a sudden, hey, when are you available? When can you come? When can you start? And it could be anywhere between that Capricorn new moon and then the incoming next new moon, which will be in kind of mid-February. And it'll be quick because the Ace of Wands is saying it's going to be snappy. And I think about all like the trines that are happening to Uranus, which ironically is about power, can be about electric or feeling kind of electrified with some kind of new change in your schedule. And I would be really implementing, if you're not working currently, like I said, having a routine, because this is about being on top of things. Look at this as a time where maybe you're approaching your life and your day-to-day where you're like, okay, I know I'm starting this job and it's going to be like in the next month. And even though you haven't gotten that clarification yet, and you're getting your life in order and you're starting to function in a way where you're getting up, you're having your routine as if you were going to work. Because I would say enjoy the quiet time while you have it. For a lot of Leo and Leo risings, it's going to be incredibly busy for you, especially throughout the next month after that new moon. And you're going to see this progress really all the way into April, May of this year. That's probably when you're kind of reaching that peak. There's going to be like that pinnacle turning point that you'll see around like the new moon in Taurus. And then the Ace of Wands is talking about new seeds that are being sprouted. This is about confidence. This is about energy. Maybe it also means that this is going to be really encouraging you to kind of like light a fire and set intentions and really either write something down in regards to, I'm accepting the offer, I'm starting at this date, you know, I'm going to be working at this address, whatever, and your intentions revolving around taking the position, and then burn it. Or you can like burn a candle and you can do something to kind of work with that element of fire to really kind of like energize the whole process and kind of moving it forward. But just with like the Sun and Mars in conjunction right now, and Mercury too, Mercury obviously is going to be connected to money and stability. So you're going to get an answer here very soon. I would be surprised if you're having to wait until May. I think it's probably going to be in the immediate next month. I would just say enjoy your quiet time while you have it. And if you've been holding out for something that you feel like is definitely going to be the position that you want, it does look likely that you're going to be getting into it. So hopefully it's within the next like lunar cycle. Thanks for your question. I appreciate it. All right, it looks like we've got, let's see, Laura. What's up, Laura? I don't see your question unless you put it in the, oh, there it is. Just sent it. Okay, Laura, what can I answer for you? Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit stunted, unfortunately, because PayPal's being a pain. And we do take Super Chat, so if you guys don't want to use PayPal or you don't have PayPal, we can do that. Laura says, I just wanted to ask when I'm getting a job or a raise. You're welcome, Ellen. All right, can you guys tell everybody's like mind is on work with all these Capricorn transits? It's been unreal. All right, let's take a look. So what can we tell Laura about the possibility of getting either a new job or getting a raise? She's a Capricorn rising and a Cancer sun. All right, cool. So the Venus transits are definitely helping you. That is for sure, because Venus rules your career, you know? So something you're going to want to watch for is like, as Venus is actually getting ready to go into Aquarius in this next week, it's moving through your money house. And then you're going to see for the next month, there's Mars, Mercury, the Sun going through there. So there's this power up period and really focusing on like your security and knowing your worth. And it can result in making more money, especially right around the eclipse. So we have got the Page of Pentacles, we have got the Queen of Pentacles, and we have the Knight of Swords. So there is quite a full house kind of coming up here. A lot of characters that are kind of involved in whatever's going on with either your job hunt or your, hope for a transition in your current position. I like the progression. I like the progression of the Page to the Queen, because I feel like it's kind of starting with a small seed where you're kind of looking at things going, okay, you know, I would be happy, I would stay if I could just potentially, you know, get a small raise and, you know, just have a little bit of an increase and a boost in my income. And sometimes with the pages, it represents that brand new beginning of shifting your belief, and the element is earth. So it's going to be about money, it's going to be about resources, it's also going to be about where you're investing your time, where you're investing your energy. But I think with the Page of Pentacles coming up and that transition into the Queen of Pentacles, it can be indicating that you're considering new training, you're considering certifications, you're also kind of looking at things going, am I playing it small? Like, am I willing to stay in a position where there's very little room for growth within the company and just hoping that if I continue to kind of stay and kind of put my energy into it, that I'm going to somehow, you know, get a raise? But is that going to make you happy in the long term? And if you really kind of zoom out and you ask yourself, is there potentially something else better for me? Is there another company? Is there another position? Is there another job? Should I be looking elsewhere? I would say yes, because you're going to move from kind of being like a pauper to being a queen. So the Queen of Pentacles can also talk about there being some support that can potentially kind of come through a relationship that you have with with an earth sign. So it can be a Virgo, it can be a Capricorn, it can be a Taurus. It can also mean that there is like a meeting that you have with like a woman who is like well-to-do in your field or in your industry. And honestly, because the page is on the hunt for something else and the page is really looking in a different direction, it's not facing the queen. So this is not like you having a conversation with your manager or with your team or applying within. This is you going on a hunt and looking for something. You would likely find somebody who you would end up talking to who's going to see your value. So they're going to have an interview with you, they're going to look at your resume, or they're going to have a connection and they're going to go, all right, I want to see what she's got. Let's talk to her and let's see what, you know, she can do for us. And it's possible that she would see something in you that she could nurture, that she could potentially mentor, that she could train, that she feels like you have the capabilities and she would be willing to invest in having some kind of like business relationship with you. So there's growth basically that can happen from this. Also, the final card that you get is the Knight of Swords, which is also implying get on the horse, go looking, go look elsewhere, because it is possible that not only if you go looking for it, something's going to find you, but like it can also indicate that somebody has already put out a search. Like there could actually be like a job posting. There could be like a headhunter. There could potentially be a website that's saying, hey, we're looking for this position. And like they're trying to find you. So the queen has already sent the knight out saying, hey, I need to find somebody for this position. Let's see what we can find. If you go looking for it, likely you're going to find something that I think is not only going to make more money, which is good, but also you're going to find that there's room to grow within this position and there's room to learn within this position. And I think there's going to be some kind of training aspect, potentially really putting an emphasis on communication skills. There may be some element of traveling or, like I said, education or training, because the Knight of Swords deals with that. It's also about windows of opportunity. So kind of striking while the iron's hot. I think that if people are looking for a job right now with all these planets moving through Capricorn, trining Uranus, the key here is to be active, be out there looking and be looking on the internet, Uranus, and also be willing to start thinking about, okay, where can I be more flexible? Where can I apply some of the skills that I have or experience that I have, maybe in areas or in technical positions or for, job openings that I haven't used in some time, or where I can kind of be a little bit more flexible or be like a jack of all trades. So go looking for something. Watch for this nurturing relationship or a connection with a woman that you're going to make who's going to be like, okay, let's see what you've got. And likely you'll find that this is actually going to come a lot easier than trying to grow within your current position, basically. Hopefully that is helpful for you, Laura. New job. All right, so who else do we have here? If you guys are new here, let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you want to get a reading, scan the QR code right up there. It'll take you to my PayPal. All right, what's up, Katie? Happy birthday. She says, it's my birthday. I wanted to do a one-card pull on what the theme to this new year is for me. Man, having a solar return with all that Capricorn energy is exciting. What a solar return you're having. All right, so what can we tell Katie about the energies of this next year on her birthday? What does 2026 have in store for her? Oh, I like this. The Three of Wands. I was just having a conversation with a client earlier. We were talking about this card and how this card came up, and I remember saying to them, I was like, they're waiting for their captain. Like, there is a sense of them waiting for that person to kind of come in and like help lead the way. When we think about the element of wands, it's about passion, creativity, action, right? It's also about feeling inspired. It can also be about feeling more confident, and also like taking risks. Adventure is like a theme that comes up with the wands. So the Three of Wands represents you initiated something new through the Ace. The second is you kind of going, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Having had options. And the third is I've picked my path. I'm excited. I'm getting the show on the road. So it can actually indicate going after your goals, having some kind of support from like-minded friends or community. This can also mean that you're feeling like you need to travel, you need to get outside of your usual kind of space or your comfort zone. This can also indicate that you're now putting all the pieces in place and you're waiting for the ships to roll in, and you're now waiting to start to see some of the results. If I remember correctly, don't you have like a bunch of, like, don't you have like a Sag midheaven and like a Pisces rising and like there's a bunch of Capricorn there? I think that was the case from what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. It reminds me a lot of the transits going on in your chart right now. I mean, just a god-awful amount of things that are going through Capricorn, which would be associated with your kind of like 10th going into your 11th house, where this is where you show everybody what you've got. And so you'll be setting a lot of those intentions probably pretty soon, if that's your setup, to what you can show your audience, what you can be bringing to collective groups, what goals you're hoping to achieve, and it feels larger than life because everything's in opposition to Jupiter. Right, your chart ruler. So it's based off of what you're creating, what you're growing, what you love, what brings you joy, things that are going to make you feel fulfilled. And right now there's a lot of going and trying to figure out, who am I selling to? What's my audience? What do people want? Okay, let me plant all those little seeds. So that way over the next 6 months, you can see some major kind of fruition that can be kind of coming through that Jupiter transit in your 5th house, which I think you're definitely going to start seeing, especially as we're kind of getting into the earth and water months. Maybe this also means that you are, picking a place that you've never gone to before and you're traveling there. I think that's a really great card, and you're exploring maybe other creative avenues. And I think that this is just really locking into, maybe this last year has been a lot of reflection on, okay, where have I gone through some emotional stuff? Where did I get stalled a little bit? Where did I get overwhelmed? And now you're picking your pinpoint and you're just full steam ahead towards that goal. So try to work with increments of 3 is what I would say. Like, you might notice that every 3 months there's like a check-in you're doing with yourself. Maybe you notice you're working with 2 other people. Maybe you're juggling a couple different projects to see what's going to stick. But being a little bit more optimistic and certainly broadening your horizons is definitely, I think, the name of the game this year. So hopefully it's a good year for you. Certainly kicking it off with some really killer transits. So it's exciting for Pisces risings. All right, we've got Matthew V, who is in the chat. And I apologize, like, once again, PayPal is being really sucky with me. It's been playing games with me all month. So some of your guys' questions get kind of cut off and I'm having to use my phone like an idiot. Matthew says, hey, I've been more seriously considering going back to school since I never finished college. I want to go online so I can continue to work to pay off my student loans. And that's all I see. So if you're there, Matthew, is there anything else that I'm missing? Are you asking me whether or not you should be going back to school? PayPal's going to get one nasty email from me. Let me tell you. I'm going to be like, dude, I'm a streamer. Like, you guys are getting money. Like, what the heck is going on? So if Matthew pops in, let me know. But I'm going to try to give you some insight as to whether or not maybe it's a good idea for you to be going back to school. Thank you for the super chat. I'll put you next in my queue. So let me see what I can tell Matt about whether or not this is a good move. So what can we tell Matt about whether or not he should seriously be considering going back to school, doing it online, paying off the student loans? What does that path look like for him? Wow. Pretty powerful cards. We've got the Death card, the Eight of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. So I'm wondering, first of all, what it is that you're considering going back to. Like, what is it that's driving this? Because to me, it's interesting to see the Death card where it's like, something's got to change. There needs to be some kind of transformation that's going on with my career path. Maybe you're realizing that you're hitting walls, or that you can only go so far, or that maybe there is this shift where you're like, okay, now I'm looking at education differently. Now that I have the ability to kind of do this, I can have more of a say in going after something that I feel like is going to be really fulfilling and could really dramatically and drastically change your life for the best ways. If you're going to pull the Death card, you know, I feel like as long as there are other cards that are following up with that, that's going to give you confirmation as to whether or not it's going to go smoothly. And you do have that. But there is some sense of you also kind of reflecting on the past. Now, obviously, Scorpio deals with the Death card. So it can be saying, okay, is your goal to get back to school by the Scorpio full moon that's going to happen in the spring? Is it about making that full segue and committing to being a student in the fall? Look at what's going on with Scorpio in your chart or Pluto in your chart. There may be a connection to that. It's difficult. Like, the Death card is not easy. It does say that one thing needs to end for something to begin. So you may also be kind of grappling with, do I continue working while I'm going to school? You know, do I decide to be a full-time student and take out more student loans? Do I decide that I want to completely uproot what I've studied in the past and go in a different direction? Is it financial? Is it going to be about psychological? Is it going to be about something kind of connecting to health and healing? Is it a completely different field altogether that you're potentially trying to get into? I think there's going to be a very drastic change. Also, Death card does deal with like the financial aspect of, well, how do I pay for it while paying for debt? Do I take on more debt? What does that look like? And I think the Eight of Cups is basically saying, like, you know, with where you're at right now, that it is time to move forward, that you do actually have to make this commitment to going and continuing your education. You feel like that is the only path forward. There's no really other options for you, especially with whatever you're doing currently. This also means that you have to be willing to leave some things behind. So I'm wondering, do you come to a situation where you're like, I have to either cut back on my hours at work, or, you know, I have to do something that's going to be part-time or more flexible? Does this mean that, you know, there is going to be a need to really dramatically change something about your financial or your kind of lifestyle? Probably, yeah. But I think it will be worth it. I also feel like I can tell you pretty confidently that if you do decide to move forward, you will not look back, because this is a card that's about being like, nope, that's in the rearview mirror. Like, I'm not going to focus on what I could have, would have, should have done. I'm going to focus on moving forward. So you're not going to be beating yourself up over the fact that you didn't finish college, right? To me personally, I think it's absolutely insane that we've got 17, 18, 19-year-olds that are taking out tens, if not more, thousands of dollars in debt, and then they're going to school when, like, they have not fully mentally developed yet. Like, you know, that's what we're doing. We're sending them off into the world, and then they're graduating with all of these high hopes, and then they've got like just a ton of debt. I think it's crazy. So I think this is a better time in your life. It's a different season in your life. And I think that maybe you've had some experiences and now you have a better understanding of what you want to do. And I would say don't focus too much on what you could, would have, should have done. There is a possibility that there is also some challenges or limitations with what carries over. So I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, have some of your credits expired? Is it going to be a little bit of like a hurdle in being able to get in certain classes so you can continue that over as you're kind of working towards getting a degree? There could be some challenges there. And whether or not things are actually going to be transferable from where you went to school compared to where you're going to be going to school, but you'd have to talk to a counselor and get into that. I love the combination of the Queen of Cups and also the Death card, because I feel like that's about tapping into what your gut is telling you, saying that, hey, you need to listen to what your intuition is saying, or maybe emotionally, you know, you're more mature and you're in a better space and you feel like you can actually really have everything together to really be fully focused on seeing through this goal of getting a certification or getting, you know, a degree or some kind of training. And this can also mean that there is like a female figure that plays like a pivotal role in your life who's going to be encouraging you, right? So this could be a mom, this could be a girlfriend, this could be a friend, this could also be like a family member, and somebody who's like, you know what, like, I really feel like you are making the right decision, like, do it. And somebody who's going to be giving you that confirmation and like that support as you're making this decision. Now, maybe it also means that you go and speak to like a career counselor, or maybe you go and talk to a college counselor and you're like, well, this has been my background, this is my interest, this is the experience that I've had working. I'm trying to find something in this field. And you'll have somebody that can kind of work through this with you and talk about realistically what would be a good match for you, what's also going to work for you in terms of just like your emotional kind of like load. And if you are going to be working and going to school, making sure that you're doing it in a way where you're balanced in the way that you're approaching it and you're not feeling overwhelmed and like quitting and feeling like you gave up. So I do think that you're definitely capable of being able to do this. I would be curious if it's going to be either sometime around like the full moon in Scorpio in the spring that you're going back or sometime in the fall, but it's full steam ahead. So I do think that this is actually a really, really good idea. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, so we've got Ronik. Am I saying your name right? Ronik? Let's see. So she says, 114, what about my solar return? Well, I'll see what the cards say about your solar return. Happy almost birthday. Sag rising, Cap Sun, Aries moon. Well, let's see what we can tell you, what the cards think about this new year. Is that your, Ronik, okay, is that your natal chart or is that what came up in your solar return as a Sag rising, Cap Sun, Aries moon? Cap Sun, Aries moon, you're getting a double dose of Saturn this year, girl. Let's go back. There you go. All right, so what can we tell her about this birthday that she's got coming up? 1, 2, 3. All right. That's my natal chart. Okay, cool. All right, so you've got that Sag rising, so you're finishing up home stuff. You've got the sun in Capricorn, so that's going to be really strong for like money. And then the Aries moon, which is also going to be like killer for anything with like creativity or romance or babies this year. We've got that 3 of Wands. 2 of Wands. We've got the World card and the Ace of Cups. Girl! I mean, I think some astrologers might argue with me. They might be like, well, Saturn and Neptune going into the 5th house can be like a creative challenge, or it might feel like you're trying to figure out how to find your joy, or some delays maybe when it comes to dating or dealing with kiddos. But I actually disagree. I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're going to be investing yourselves into something that's going to bring you like lots of joy. And it might mean you have to buy materials to do that. Maybe you're launching a business. Maybe you are getting into a new hobby. But I really feel like for a lot of you guys, this is going to be like a really breakthrough year. And you're going to realize that you have to play, you have to take chances, right? That's part of the 5th house themes. And you're really going to jive in the fall when Jupiter is in your 9th house of travel and education and it's trining Saturn, right? So I preface all of that because, well, I'm looking at the Ace of Cups. So that can mean that there's big breakthroughs in your heart space. That can mean there's a new relationship that comes in this year. That could be a renewal of a relationship, finding things that you love, feeling like your heart is just kind of runneth over. But it's all about starting from scratch. And so from the perspective of Saturn and Neptune going into your 5th house, you might feel like there's a bit of like a creative block. But you're going into this new year with the 2 of Wands, which means you're going, okay, what choices do I have? What decisions do I need to make? You know, what is it that I want? And you're kind of weighing your options. And it means like basically, you know, you have the world at your feet. 2 of Wands can also mean there's more focus on travel. There's more focus on learning. There is also an emphasis in being open-minded and kind of embracing all of the potentials that come in this year. So those themes are going to be connected to obviously the World card, which is completions. It's also karmic, which means you're passing karmic tests, Saturn. Maybe you're able to travel the world. There's a globe here. This is dealing with travel. And then the Ace of Cups is talking about like feeling fulfilled because you're able to go and experience things and see places and connect with people that you haven't been able to in the past. And so obviously Sag risings, they like to travel. From a Capricorn perspective, Saturn and Neptune obviously kind of going into Aries is going to represent dealing with home matters or dealing with family matters. So I think for you, it may materialize as you going, how can I decorate and design my home space? How can I build something that feels like it's my own? How can I achieve my dreams of what feels like having my own home or getting my first apartment or potentially, you know, picking a place that I'm going to stay at for a long period of time? And I think you're going to feel adventurous in that sense. I also feel like there is this World card, which is saying, everything's finally coming together, and you're wrapping up, I think, through Saturn and Neptune transits in Pisces, like this feeling of where is home, where am I supposed to be, or just some really heavy family karmic burdens and responsibilities, which, yes, Saturn and Neptune go into Aries in February, but you're not really through the thick of it until like March, April, okay? Post eclipses, post retrograde. I think that at the end of this whole traveling to go and find your bliss, or to find your perfect home, or to find the hobby or the relationship, whatever, it's about more love. It could be self-love in the 5th house. It could be romantic love. It could also mean that you end up kind of meeting somebody who's like young and hot. I mean, Saturn and Neptune going into your 5th house is somebody who's athletic and they want to have fun, they want to have a good time, and they bring out that inner child in you. So with the final card being the Ace of Cups, love is definitely on the agenda. And if you're in an existing relationship, it means that there can be this expansion in a relationship because you're more kind of open and optimistic to the ways that you guys can kind of connect and the things you can do. And that relationships will actually be better because you're really focusing on what's going to make you happy. And certainly Uranus going through your opposite sign, you know, Gemini in the 7th house, is definitely going to be sudden relationships through travel. You're also going to see that really spark up pretty much in February. You'll also see that a little bit in June as well as July. This card deals with the water month, so I'd be keeping an eye out for travel and love opportunities that are going to pop up in March. You might also see that kind of in June into July, and then again in October and November. Great reading for you. I'm excited to see what happens. Just love to have love again, not just a boss leader. Well, I've had Saturn and Neptune go through my 5th house. I've dealt with that. I mean, I've had them not together, but I've had them separately, and I found that relationships really developed as a result of just being more focused on my passions and what brought me joy, and then like taking myself on dates. In Aries, it might be a little bit more kind of like athletic or going to sports related events or things that are going to be things you can do on your own, but it may open the door because you're going to see Saturn and Neptune sextile Uranus in your 7th to meeting new people. Not a bad setup. All right, we've got Rachel and Adriana, and if you guys are tapping in, you want a reading, scan the QR code, get in the queue, let me know your question in the memo so I can pull some cards for you. Rachel, oh, I just see the beginning of your message. We're going to have a moment of silence for Pajama Guy. She says, I just broke up with Pajama Guy, and this cowboy I had a crush on years ago showed up and wants to be with me and offer me everything. Please advise, what do you think? Rest in peace, Pajamas. Let's take a look. I mean, honestly, Rachel, Pluto is squaring your Venus, is it not? Is it not? And with that, like Virgo rising, right? Your Virgo rising, where you have all the transits of Capricorn going through your 5th. Virgo risings who are open to it are going to have such an amazing opportunity for just like love and passion. And it's all feeding off of Saturn in your 7th, where it's like Saturn and Neptune is one fades away, and then boom, like your knight in shining armor shows up. I like the cowboy idea a lot. That's very much also like Uranus that's still moving through Taurus. Does he live further away? Like, does he like live off of the land somewhere because it's in the same sign as your Venus? He's so cute. No, he's close by. Perfect. Let's see what he gives you for Christmas. All right, so this is the card that I have on the cowboy. Ah! I love this. You get the 10 of coins. Which I know you're asking about love and you're like, give me the King of Cups or give me the 10 of Cups or give me the Lover's card. But I actually kind of feel like this symbolizes that he's speaking to you in a way that you were like, wait, what? You want to do what? Like you want to like be with me forever and like have a house, or talk about, you know, being a part of a family, or talk about future plans. Like you want to offer me stability, like you're grounded. Like it's a nice card. I would take that the 10 of Pentacles in a future relationship reading over any of the cups any day, because this tells me that this is about building a future. This is about building a legacy. This can mean that he's talking to you about his plans, his life plans, his goals, his career, his finances, and he's building you into that future vision. So in this deck, you see the card that I created. You see two older people sitting in a like little garden area, surrounded by this beautiful house. There's fountains, which represent the emotional connection. There's wealth through the pentacles and stability. And also you see like all the little kids running around and everybody's like happy because they've built this legacy. So it's like their castle of security. Yeah, I feel like this is somebody who's not just all talk. It could be somebody who's like, look, I'm kind of serious. I'm looking for the real deal. So like, what's up? Bye, pajama guy. See you later. Deal with that during the Mercury retrograde and the eclipses. We'll see what's kind of going on with that period, because likely there is going to be some kind of grand finale as to whether or not you're seeing him off. But I love that you're Virgo rising and Pluto is squaring your Venus, which if it's at a 3, so it represents you've got one person that is been around, you've got a new person that comes in, and Pluto comes in and says, okay, we're going to teach you about, you know, the power of transformation. Let this die off, let this emerge. I'm all for it. I think that this could be something that has a major long-term potential and could also provide you all the security and the stability that you've really been seeking in a close relationship. Could not be more thrilled. But like I said, you will see more stability. Pluto is still squaring. There's a lot of things squaring, but you'll see more stability after the Mercury retrograde in Pisces and the Virgo eclipse. But I think I've always thought all along, when you're done, that's when somebody was going to come in and he's going to be like, where did you go? Sayonara, sucker. All right. We've got Adriana. All right. So Adriana says, my son is born 7/22/99. When will he get a new job promotion? So he's a Leo, just barely. He's almost a Cancer. He's got Pluto in opposition to his sun. So I don't know his ascendant. We're not doing astrology. We're doing tarot, but I'll pull a couple cards and tell you what I think. But I can definitely tell you that Leos are doing their damnedest right now, trying to focus on finding a job. And the new moon on the 18th is when you set intentions. You could see something happen very quickly. I would say, you know, if he's in a job that deals with maintenance, obviously Capricorn in the 6th could be something that's about management. It could be the service industry, and that's ruled by Saturn. And so he's looking for something that's going to pay well. So let's see what the cards say. But most likely, I would say there can be something that can come in very suddenly, like over the next month, especially when the moon's kind of going through either Capricorn or Taurus. Let's see. So we've got 1, 2, 3 for Miss Garza. All right, we've got the 10 of Cups. We have got the 9 of Swords, and we've got the 6 of Cups. What's the deal? So like, has he been in a position where he's been like there for a while and he's been kind of comfortable and being like, well, you know, I know everybody, like we're family, like we get on well. And then there's this like realization that's just like, you're just kind of just bobbing around. Like there's no real progression. There's no real development. There's no expansion. Because it seems like he may feel like it's good enough, but he may not be thinking about the long term and kind of realizing that there does need to be more development when it comes to his career. I don't think he's doing a bad job. I don't think he has any issues. I mean, I think that he's doing fine. I mean, obviously this talks about feeling emotionally secure, but it can also mean that there's a sense of being too comfortable and not really kind of getting outside of your comfort zone and like growing. I also feel like this has been like a wake-up call for him, that he's just working, and he's not feeling like he's either getting the recognition that he wants, or maybe he's kind of feeling like, man, am I going to be here forever? Kind of spinning my wheels. And that leads me to the 9 of Swords. So this means that there is now all of a sudden this kind of stress and anxiety that's like, am I going to be dedicating myself to something where I'm not actually really going to make headway in my career? So I don't know what he does, but there is this major shift that's going on where he's just like, is it always going to be like this? And also kind of wondering whether or not there's going to be some changes that's going to be happening at work. I think about just Leos in general. Pluto in opposition to the sun means there can be some really intense kind of power dynamics that can be happening with his dad. It could be happening with a parent. Pluto rules the home, so it could also be a parent getting on his case, being like, when are you gonna, be changing careers, or when are you gonna kind of grow up? And it can be difficult for him dealing with superiors and power struggles. That'll really kind of hit home hard the next month. This planet's opposed his sun. But that Nine of Swords is like, he's stressed. It's him being like, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm trying to figure something out. And it's interesting because I almost feel like right when he starts to segue and he's going to be looking for something else, he's going to come back around to this job and be like, okay, should I stay here and give it another shot? Or should I be appealing to them being like, hey, you know, I want to stay, or I want more hours, or I want to be getting a promotion. You know, are you guys going to be able to do that? And it does look like then they will start to take things a little bit more seriously, because the Six of Cups is about that sweet exchange and having appreciation for the other person. So almost right when he goes looking for other jobs or interviewing or potentially leaving, they might be like, wait up, hold a second. Like, are you leaving? Like, let's talk about this. Can we get you to stay? And they might try to get him to reconsider. There's also a possibility that he's either going to get called back to an old job or an old position if he does leave, or if he's worked at another place or like in another department, or if he's worked with people in the past that have left, they may be reconnecting with him being like, hey, like, we've got something here. Are you interested? So it's possible that if he's in contact with people that he's worked with in the past that have moved on to bigger, better places and spaces, I would be like, dude, reach out to some of these people. Be like, what are you doing? You know, they know you, you have experience, you know, see what they're doing and see if there's potentially any kind of connections, because people will come back around. Can also mean that if he's applying to things, like, he is going to hear back. It may take about 6 weeks is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. But I think that people will be kind of reaching back out and being like, hey, and as I've said with Leo placements, I mean, we could see work change on a dime, literally in the next like week or two. And then we're going to see all these planets, they're going to move into Aquarius, and it's about him kind of connecting and collaborating with new people. She says, yes, 3 years, wants a promotion and more money. Well, I mean, I really feel like, do not tell him not to sell himself short, but also know like when it's a good time to leave. Like, if he's comfortable and he's happy, great. But if they're not really giving him that credit where credit is due and showing him with like a promotion and like changes in his pay, rather than stressing out about whether or not it's ever going to happen, he needs to actually start seeing what else is out there. He needs to make the jump. He needs to make the change. And probably what he'll find is that either people from the past are coming back being like, hey, we're interested, or he's going to have an opportunity to renegotiate with them before he potentially leaves. But this is about things getting a little bit easier in that exchange, and maybe it means he's going to air out the feeling of being like, dude, it's been 3 years. Like, there's little incentive, you know, and I'm working and doing my best. And they'll be like, okay, you know, we're going to throw him a bone, or, you know, we recognize that you are, you know, a pretty significant part of the team. Let me give you something. It's not going to be much. It's going to be something to tie him over. And so I think that this is a good experience for him, because he's young, to realize that, yeah, you can stay somewhere and you can have a steady paycheck, and that's great. But, you know, if you're feeling like there is no personal fulfillment, because I think it's more about the personal fulfillment, and you're not also kind of recognizing that your employer is not really, I mean, you know, appreciative of you, then you can be appreciated elsewhere. So it's a good experience for him. I see he's stressed though. He's stressed. All right, let me see if somebody else came in. If you guys want to get your reading, scan the QR code. We've got Lala. Sorry, guys, I can't see everything on my screen. Amanda. And I can't see all of your guys' messages, so bear with me. Lala says, I just started a new job as a receptionist. I want to know the future and if it will last. Okay. All right, Lala. So let's see what we can tell you about working this new job as a receptionist. Is it going to last? How's it going to go? What does Lala need to know? All right. 1, 2, 3. We've got the World card. We've got the 5 of Swords. We've got the Knight of Cups. Okay. It's interesting. I kind of feel like, I mean, and thus kind of like the role of being the receptionist, like you're like the person who's like the go-between, and you're having all the communication that's going back and forth between a multitude of different people. So it does look like the overwhelming side of this is being like, okay, how do I relay a lot of this information? I think that the 5 of Swords being one of the more prominent cards in the right now is kind of looking at the situation going, all right, I'm going to pick my battles. Like, I kind of see this as like any situation we were the go-between. Like I have, when I was going through school, I was working as like a hostess, you know, and I'm the middle person between, you know, customers that are coming in, between also dealing with the back of the house, dealing with the servers. And it puts you kind of in a situation where you're kind of like in the middle of it all. And it's this constant communication. So when I see the Five of Swords, be mindful of how you're communicating with people, because on one hand, you could be super nice and super accommodating and do everything for everybody. But on the other hand, you might feel like in doing so, people can kind of walk all over you, or people are going to treat you in a way where you're just, you know, the message giver and receiver, and, you know, like they may not respect you. And I think that it's going to be dealing more with the incoming communication. So people who are contacting the business or contacting the office, or potential clients who may not be so friendly, and how you're actually relaying some of that. You're going to have to really kind of tap in mentally and intuitively to learn some people's communication styles. And I think you're going to find that there will be some people who will lean on you, who will not want to respond to things, or who will not want to send emails or book things, or they're not going to be great with getting back to people. And so they're going to kind of rely on you to do that. And you're going to have to look at things and kind of go, is it my job? Like, you know, you're going to give them the message. You're going to be like, there you go, contact them, call them back. Otherwise, you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of mental pressure where stuff is being put on you that's not necessarily your responsibility. Your job is to relay the messages, do the bookings, and the administrative stuff. That is it. Do not let people treat you like a doormat. The other way of looking at this is that there's also this sense of getting a feel for who is worth, right, like really working with and like communicating with, or going the extra mile for. And that there can be some people who are going to help you out, they are going to communicate well with you, they are going to support you, and others may not. So you're going to see a wide variety of different kind of personalities that I think that might be potentially coming in through your administrative work. First card is the World card. So this is telling me you're starting from scratch. So you either decided to ditch your last profession and do something different and start over, or you were like, I just really need to have something that's going to be very different than what I've been doing in the past, or you're really hoping for a fresh start because you don't want to repeat some of the same patterns and habits that you have had in recent years with your jobs and your occupation. So it's saying like, yes, you're getting that free start. I don't think there's going to be any new lessons. I think it's saying you have dealt with what you dealt with in the past. You're ready to start new. You're open to, you know, potentially growth, because this is saying that you may actually evolve. So I don't know what other positions, if there's other things that would come up in the company, but I get the impression that you wouldn't necessarily need to stay there. I don't think you're going to feel like you need to leave. I think that you would need to come in and be diplomatic, but also like know what your role and your responsibility is, and be mindful and kind of keep your wits about you, because there are going to be some people that are going to kind of test you. Especially with the Five of Swords, I think about standing around waiting and being like, okay, who's coming at me? You know, like, is there going to be somebody who's going to like challenge me, or is going to give me a hard time? And like, people need to recognize that you're going to basically be the gatekeeper. So if they want you to help them get work done or be organized or relay messages, they need to be respectful. Now, the Knight of Cups comes up as the final card. So I think that in spite of some of the Five of Swords energy that can feel like a lot of communication coming at you, the Knight of Cups is like being in the flow. So it's like you going like, yes, I'm good with people. I communicate, you know, I'm orderly, I'm on time. I know the systems. Everything's going to be moving very smoothly. And like, you might feel like you're kind of really getting into the groove, especially as you're getting into like February, March, April. It also means that there can be some good connections here. There could be some friends that are made. There could be some potential romantic connections with the Knight of Cups. And somebody who's possibly going to be really either like a friendship or a connection that's going to make you go, no, I want to stay, or I really like the people that I'm working with, or I really enjoy the environment, and I feel like I'm not taking on a lot of stress because I can just move through this and I can kind of, you know, navigate my job very intuitively, and I think things will actually go pretty well. I would at the very least, because swords have this connection to months, I would at least stay with this job for 5 months. I would go into it being like, look, I'm going to stay here 5 or 6 months. I'm going to see how it goes. Perhaps maybe there is a little bit of a learning curve with learning systems and people's personalities, but you might find as you're getting into the summertime, you're like, this isn't all that bad. Like, I think I could actually really enjoy staying here, especially because I don't see you taking on a lot of stress with this job. I feel like it could be something that you would naturally be very good at. And, yeah, just be mindful of some of the different personalities that are going to be kind of moving through there, because there's going to be some people that are going to kind of test you. So be as diplomatic as you can. And congratulations on getting a new job. That's exciting. All right, we've got Amanda that popped in. And yeah, you can always get another question if you have another question. Let's see. So then Amanda says, hey girl, 29-degree Virgo here. That just had my birthday. Can you pull some cards and let me know about the next long-term romantic relationship timing? I'm going to assume you just want to know all about the person that's coming in. Personality. Let's take a look. I think about your chart and I think about that there's going to be one last hoorah. Now, sometimes when you have retrogrades in the 7th house, like it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I've heard some, I mean, yes, there can be some horror stories for sure with like retrogrades in the 7th, but from my perspective, I've seen a lot of clients and I've seen in my life too, that there's been some really prominent people who either come in or out of my life during retrogrades, and it was always for the best. So I want you to keep in the back of your mind, even though we're a little early, once we get to the end of February, Mercury's going retrograde in your 7th house, which means it's going to be this situation where you're going to be like, am I really done with that person? You know, are they coming back? Like, I have a vibe that there's going to be somebody who's going to make one grand return that's going to try to test you. And then there's going to be an eclipse. And it's going to be about creating that boundary where it's like, nope, I've moved on. So remember that. Put it on your calendar, end of February into March. Are you taking them back? I don't know. Certainly, Saturn and Neptune and Aries is going to be a completely different vibe. Great cards. Really great cards. I think with the Knight of Wands, you know, I could see this from a few different perspectives. Number one is I would keep a lookout for somebody who's going to have that fiery, feisty kind of energy. So Saturn going into the 7th house could be older, you know, in Aries, it could be somebody who's really fitness or kind of active, somebody who's also really focused on maturing in relationships, something that could be more serious. And then Neptune is there, so they also have like this dreamy, creative, kind of whimsical side. The Knight of Wands is somebody that you connect with, and you connect with them in a way that is about going out, being in entertainment, you know, traveling, doing something that's going to be action-oriented, even like working out, like that kind of stuff. And this is somebody who can be a fire sign. So watch for somebody who either has a little bit more flush color to their face. Look for somebody who can have a little bit more of like a warmer color to their hair. Somebody who could be an Aries. They can be a Leo. They can be a Sag. And somebody who's like always got something going on. Like they're a mover and a shaker. Maybe they're, you know, an entrepreneur. Maybe there's somebody who is in like the fitness world. Or maybe it's going to be somebody who's you know, starting all these new kind of things for themselves. They have these goals, because the Knight of Wands makes me feel like it's somebody who's like, I'm going after what I want. And you'll notice when these two planets are in a fire sign that you're moving away from like the weepy, kind of mopey, secretive, like Pisces crap, going more in the direction of somebody who's going to like walk right up to you and be like, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? Let's get together. You know, it's a very different vibe. And I think with the Six of Wands, it is saying it's going to be within like the next 6 months. Like you are going to see there is going to be more action in your life when it comes to relationships, or maybe you're seeing the red flags more quickly. Maybe this means there's going to be some aspect of travel, and also like feeling celebrated. Like there is this feeling when you have these two cards coming together that this is somebody who gets excited to see you, right? They want to call you, they want to text you, they're excited to tell you about where they're taking you, what your plans are going to be. And it does look like it is going to be a successful union and a successful match. Now, with that being said, the truth is with the Knight of Wands, it usually starts off with somebody who's a very physical, kind of intimate sexual connection. So it might mean you meet somebody, you guys hit it off really quick, you guys start hooking up, you're like, this is exciting, everything's great, but then you start to kind of wonder, like, is this a good idea? Things are moving very quickly and it seems undefined. And that's because the Knight of Wands is somebody who's more about being in the moment, and they're more about passion. They're not really thinking like the Knight of Swords, you know, what you're all about. They're not really planning like the Knight of Pentacles, the long term. This is somebody who's in the now. And so you may feel kind of like with that Virgo rising that you're like, you know, like, do I feel like I want to rush into something? I just kind of got out of something, but you're going to feel inspired because of that connection with this person, and you're going to like the fact that they're really talking about, okay, let's go and do stuff, and let's be busy together. I also feel like there is a lot of aspects of travel. We've got a horse, we've got ships. So it can mean you meet somebody who's in a transition in your life, you meet somebody who just moved to the area, you meet somebody, you know, because you're relocating. And it can also talk about, you know, somebody who's willing to go the distance to see you. So with the Three of Wands coming up, this is also saying like you kind of going, okay, like let me see, let me see how this goes. I'm going to keep an open mind. I'm not going to completely cut myself off from dating other people. I'm going to let them impress me. I'm going to let them take the lead. And it can also mean that this is about talking about where you hope to travel and adventure together, because it looks like he's going to be talking about where he sees his life going, or he's going to be talking about what his day-to-day life is kind of like. And then you're going to be like, well, I'm not really somebody who's into like, working out, but sure, or I don't really run marathons, but I'll go and visit you while you're doing it. Or, similar interests maybe, but you're having to kind of merge your guys' worlds in your lifestyle. So it's going to kind of take you into some social interests and connections and potentially even some new hobbies that I don't think it's something that you would typically do, which also makes sense because, you're having Saturn, which technically rules your 5th house, also going through your 7th house. So it means that you have to be where the people are. You're connecting with new groups of people who do different things. And that's going to give you a much more, I think, wider kind of variety in the dating pool to kind of pull from. If you get asked to go and travel somewhere, even if it's just like the other side of town for a dinner or a party, if it's going to be going on a day trip or a weekend trip, go. Because likely you're going to meet somebody who can be from a similar area and he'll be like, I don't care where you live, like I'll come to you. Like he's going to like driving or he's going to like traveling. So it's not going to be a problem. And I think things are going to move very quickly. So you're going to want to watch what's going to happen basically over like the next, I would say like 6 weeks. Something can come on very quickly, and pretty much February through about April is when it's going to be like the hot zone kind of in your relationships. Also watch for people who are involved in martial arts, self-defense, maybe somebody who has been in the military. That could be Aries as well. You might find that it's like somebody who's like, yeah, I'm like in a reserve, or they live near a military base, or maybe they just recently got out of the service and now they're going into something else, like a fireman or a paramedic. Could very much be like Saturn in your 7th house in Aries. But I think it's a lot better than where you've been, because this is all action and all the clouds are kind of parting and opening up. So it's kind of saying it's like showing you the light at the end of the tunnel after having gone through all of your Pisces mess. You'll see. Watch what happens. All right. Is there anybody else that's popping in? Am I missing anyone? Oh, there's another one. I feel like such a grandma reading this on my phone. Sorry, guys. All right. We've got Diana, Virgo, Sagittarius rising. I am a grandmother helping my son raise his 4 kids while he gets on his feet. I want to travel, look for romance and friendship. And I'm assuming all of the things that cool, hip, young grandmas want to do, right? I like Sag rising as a grandma. You're like, yeah, I've got kids, but I got stuff I want to do. So part of that is directly connected and correlated to the fact that typically if you're a Sag rising and you have that Virgo sun, you're used to like being the boss and the organizer. You're used to being out in the world, doing your own thing, being independent. And the South Node is swinging through your 10th house, where it's like, nope, it's not really about that right now. It's not about being out in the world and solving problems. It's about the North Node, Saturn and Neptune being in your 4th house, where you're like, I feel like I'm at home. My family needs me. They could be struggling. Saturn and Neptune is like, they don't have support. We don't want to leave kids alone, And also the emotional kind of things that come up for you that's bubbling up because you feel isolated. Even though you're making those sacrifices for your family, very much expected. Okay, so if you're wanting to travel, good news is you're going to see eclipses in early February in your 3rd house, where like, I think you could actually swing a getaway, or you could possibly swing making plans to maybe go away for a weekend, go on a road trip, do something different. And that'll be the goal that you're kind of setting for the better part of like the next 6 months. So you'll see it unfold over time. Still got to get out of the eclipses and the retrogrades in your 4th house. But after March, April makes me feel like you're going to be having hobbies, you're going to be dating. So let me see what I can tell you, Diana, about looking for love, looking for friendship, having some fun. And I think we're going to see a lot of Sag risings, especially that are single, that are going to go, okay, I still have some family obligations that are kind of lingering, this year. But, I am kind of starting to communicate with my family that I do sometimes need some time away, or, grandma needs a weekend to go and do her own thing. And you'll probably be maybe dating online. You might also find yourself in a situation where you're connecting with like local community friends, making some plans for some getaways. The card that I got for you is the Sun card. the Eight of Coins, and the Page of Pentacles. So love it. I feel like the Sun card is really talking about Jupiter going into Leo. So I don't know how much you know about your chart, but Jupiter's your chart ruler. So wherever Jupiter is where Jupiter goes. And right now it's retrograde in Cancer, which means you're like, there is some blockages emotionally. I'm dealing with some heaviness with the family. There's some potential financial stuff going on with other people. You know, I'm kind of being overextended, and you'll feel that till March. But as you get into the summer months, June, July, August, Jupiter is getting ready to swing into your 9th house, which means you're going to travel. And this is like getting on an airplane and going somewhere. This is going on a long distance trip. So you're going to be able to do more kind of long distance stuff from, you know, the summer all the way pretty much to the end of the year. We're going to see a retrograde. And things are looking bright because the sun is about enjoyment, fulfillment, excitement. It's about having a good time. It also can mean that you're touching on your own personal, desires, or that you are getting more creative and you're getting some time in the sun. So I would say setting an intention to be like, all right, sometime the end of July going into August or within that month, I'm going somewhere. Set that intention. Start setting some money aside. Start thinking about where you want to go. Start getting hyped about it and work towards that goal, because the Eight of Pentacles is about kind of getting the necessary stuff done that you need to get done now so you can have more of that freedom down the road. And you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that with the eclipses in February and March. You're also going to realize that as planets are swinging through Pisces in your 4th house, this is that time where you stabilize the whole foundation of your home. And like you're feeling like you're holding it down for your family. So you're a good mom and a grandma for doing that. And to some extent, it's about the sacrifices that you make now for the freedom that you actually want to have down the road, right? Oh, there she is. So she says, thank you. I actually just planned a trip to Bali in August. You go, Grandma. That's wonderful. Like literally, that's what you're supposed to be doing. So the fact that you're doing that, it's incentivizing you to go, I'm getting my family in order. Maybe you're going to be organizing and taking care of, some things in the house, or you're, teaching kids to be a little bit more responsible. Maybe you're getting things cleaned up. Maybe you are clearing stuff out. And it's giving you that opportunity to like really feel secure knowing that your family is going to be solid and they're going to be emotionally capable of fending for themselves when you do go on that trip. And also it's this slow separation that's happening to kind of prepare you to start thinking about, do I really actually want to make a bigger move and potentially live separate from my family down the road? Now, the answers for that are not going to come yet. You're not going to see that until closer to probably the Pisces eclipse in the fall. You're also not going to see that until at least the North Node's out of your 4th house. You may be playing with the idea over the next 2 or 3 years of possibly being in a situation where you're either going back and forth between 2 places where you'll spend some time with your family and you go somewhere else, or you're like at least getting your own apartment or condo or something in the same area so you have some space. And also this is giving you like something to work towards. So stay focused, especially over like the next couple of months. Glad to hear that you have a trip booked. This is about saving and planning for that with the Page of Coins. This is also about you going, I know in order for me to have the things that I want, I have to invest in myself. So buying that plane ticket, right, to go to Bali, or making your reservation at a hotel, or booking an Airbnb, these are the small little things that you're doing to invest in your joy. And so I like that the Page of Coins is coming up. It may also specifically talk about a close relationship that you have to an earth sign. So it could be if your sun is an earth sign, or if you have a Virgo, a Capricorn, or a Taurus as one of like the kids or one of the grandkids, or a daughter, right? So it could be a daughter or a granddaughter. Somebody needs you. Okay, because I'm looking at the page reaching towards the sun and also reaching towards the Eight of Coins, which is basically saying like, it's not just that you're there to kind of fill in the gaps while, your son's going through something. It's like you have some kind of either karmic obligation, because the Eight of Coins is karmic. It's about what goes around comes around, what you're putting into something and what's coming out of it. Somehow you're going to play a pivotal role in one of the kids' lives and like really help shape their perspective and like maybe help them grow up a little bit, maybe instill a little bit more authority. Maybe you're really keeping an eye on the kids and seeing which one's going to need a little bit more help. And like, that's part of why you're there. I don't think it's just about helping your son. I think it's connected to one of the grandkids personally, especially if you have a granddaughter, because pages are women. But I do think that this is going to be opportunities for you to be investing in yourself more, focusing on that joy. It can mean that this is also about learning new skills, or that there's new hobbies that are kind of coming in that you're willing to invest in. The sun does talk about opportunities for romance. I think they'll come up suddenly. You'll see opportunities in July, and then you'll see that kind of coming up again for you. in April, but you're going to feel a little bit delayed. It'll be late April through about July that there's more romantic opportunities. And you're certainly looking, but you're realizing you have to invest in yourself first, and that's number one. So hopefully that's helpful for you. I love to hear that you're in alignment with where your astro is going. And yes, this is recorded, so if you guys are getting a reading, you can always come back to this. Definitely save the link so that way down the road when you start to see the reading kind of unfold, you can leave comments and give me feedback. Stacy, yeah, if you want to get on there, you can. Looks like we got Fiorella, I got you, and it looks like Ronique is back. She has another question, so I'll take you. Thank you for your super chat. She says, should I focus on split living this year, meaning living in Georgia and or Michigan or overseas? Am I saying, is that right? Georgia or Michigan or overseas? So like going back and forth between two states or back and forth between here and another country? Especially if you're that Sag rising. Are you kidding me? I definitely think that's something that you're thinking about doing. I would really look at your astrocartography. If you're going to invest in potentially living in another country, make sure that that's going to be a country that's going to work. And I would not be doing that in February or March, not with the retrogrades or the eclipses. You can make plans after Saturn and Neptune have fully left and those eclipses are done in your 4th house, okay? Also, Jupiter will be in your 9th house over the summer. And you're going to see Mars that's going to be retrograding there. So that can mean that by the end of 2026, the plan is to spend longer periods of time in one place and then go back and forth. But there's potentially going to be some passport, visa, like legal related things that could make that a little complicated. So you want to make sure you really know the laws so you can come and go, right? Probably one of the best cards that you could have pulled. You got the Chariot. So it looks to me like you already made up your mind. You're already like, I'm doing 2 different places this year because probably you're feeling super burnt out, feeling like you've been in one place, which is understandable. But some Sag and Sag risings are going to find that there is going to be a lot of money that is going to be spent either securing a secondary home or traveling, that it will limit their ability to have kind of spontaneity and free time or a romantic relationship should one come about this year. So this is about strategy and planning. Now, when you see the Chariot card, there is the 2 horses. They're kind of going at different speeds. They have different personalities. One's kind of veering to the left. The other one's kind of pulling ahead. And it's like you have to pull in the reins and kind of go, where am I going? This also is the card of Cancer. So it talks about look at what's going on with your natal moon in your chart right now. What's happening to your moon? What sign is it in? It can also talk about Jupiter in your 8th house, where you're also saying to yourself, how can I find a way to have more adventure but not spend as much money? So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, you go and find a boyfriend in another city. I mean, that's obviously the easy solution, but I think the other one would be, do I Airbnb, or lease out or sublease my place when I'm not here so my bills are paid and I know that I can go and travel? Do I take on a business, or do I start a business or start something that's going to give me more kind of like passive income so it gives me the opportunity to work from anywhere? Because I think a lot of you guys are going to get really creative with that idea. I do think you're going. You are going to be making the move to make the commitment to be living in 2 different places. But you have to really think about the financial side of things. If you are leaping into trying to do something right now before April, you're crazy. It's going to be super expensive. It's going to be dumb. Don't do it. Wait. As you get into May, June, and July, you're going to have a better idea of what you want to spend, right? And then you can start looking around going like, all right, I can do a back and forth. And like this may be also an opportunity for me to make money. Veronica says, my grandbaby and daughter are now in Michigan, but I'm in Georgia and I always wanted to be overseas about 5 years. And I just have a lot of responsibilities here in Georgia and I need more money. See, there you go. So one thing that I would really seriously consider, because Saturn represents traveling through your 3rd house and Neptune represents your home, like, why not consider subleasing your place? Like, I mean, it's not for everybody. I know that, but I did that a lot in LA. I mean, I lived in LA for 14 years. I was able to travel all over the place because I'd be like, cool, I want to go to New Orleans for a month, or I want to go to San Francisco for a few weeks, or, I want to go to overseas. And I would just either have people who would, sublease my place or stay in my place for a bit. And then I would have my rent paid and then some, and I'd go somewhere. She says, I'm patient. My sun, Mercury, Venus is in Capricorn. I like it. I like it a lot, especially knowing that you have those planets that are sitting in your 2nd house ruled by Saturn, right? And where's Saturn going? Into your 5th. So it means that you may be more willing and open to the idea of maybe taking some risks when it comes to traveling or relocating. I would maybe toy with the idea of either trying to find some kind of side hustle that you can do remotely, or try to find a way to be able to factor in travel and work, so it would at least pay for you to be able to go other places. And honestly, Jupiter in Cancer retrograde in the 8th house means you're reevaluating where it is you want to live and what's going to be the most cost efficient. Certainly you could find certain countries that are going to be a hell of a lot cheaper to kind of go to and stay in than others. I mean, you're seeing a lot of people who are willing to think about going overseas. If you're willing to have modest accommodations, if you're willing to go to countries that are definitely going to be maybe not as touristy, I definitely think you can swing it. It's just trying to find a way to make money in the process while you're doing that. But it looks like you have time to get your ducks in a row, especially right around the time that you're going to be able to do some traveling, which looks like that's going to be definitely on the agenda. I mean, the solar eclipse happening next month. You're going to be making a road trip probably within weeks. You're going to see another one that's then going to be happening in August. And then you're coming back home sometime probably by the end of August and figuring out what the next step is. I'm a homeowner. I've been thinking about renting out my house, but sometimes my daughter comes home. Cool, my Sag rising has me traveling and working. Cool. I mean, and that's the other thing is that, you know, you can also decide, do I want to do something that's a sublease where it's just like I'm renting it whenever I feel like renting it? I don't have a roommate. You know, there's a lot of things that you could do. And I would also like look into talking about some kind of business that you could do connected to one of your kids, because Saturn rules money. Neptune is going to be about doing anything from home, and it's going to go into your 5th house. So it might be like some kind of family hustle where it's like, hey, let's make this possible. So I know if you have a place that you need to be, you can be here. I can afford it and still afford to travel. What can we do that can be a little bit creative? Great transits for entrepreneurialism for sure. All right, if you guys are still in the chat, we're gonna call last call, so get in there if you want your reading. I've got Fiorella. What's up, girl? What is the immediate future up to 6 months of this connection with my boyfriend as of now? Let's take a look. So what can we tell her about this connection with her boyfriend from now through the next 6 months? What does it look like? Thanks, Stacy. I'll add you to my list. 1, 2, 3. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Well, these are stable cards. I like it. We've got the 3 of Pentacles, the 6 of Pentacles, the Judgment card. It seems to talk about, like, you know, every 2 months, there's like a 2-month interval. It's like you go 2 months, and then you go another 2 months, and you get to the 6th month, and then it's like there's bigger decisions that are being made. 3 of Pentacles is a great card. These are not lovey-dovey cards. You're not getting a bunch of cups and lovers and all that stuff, but you're getting stuff that's solid, grounding, building towards a future, and feels reliable. The 3 of Pentacles represents working as a team. So whether that's being like, hey, how can we help support each other? How do we help building each other up? Encouraging each other when it comes to your goals, especially with your finances, your health, and anything connected to your career. And it also talks about, you know, how both of you guys are benefiting each other the best in your relationship through also equally working on yourselves. So setting goals, focusing on the future, talking about, you know, plans in the future, financial planning. It can also mean that you guys are just really noticing that you're just jiving a lot better over the next couple of months. And so if there has been some challenges in prioritizing your schedule, prioritizing your relationship, feeling like you're on the same page, it really feels like things are starting to hit their stride within about the next 2 months, and that you guys are really feeling kind of like you're meshed, which is pretty cool. I mean, I think for a lot of people, we've seen throughout like the last month or so, things have gotten kind of stressful, and certain people have had issues in relationships, but I've actually noticed like a real change with a lot of clients where through that pressure, it's actually really forced us to work together rather than having the conflict, it's building together. So you're really channeling that energy. Then you get the 6 of Pentacles. So then it's like, okay, we've been building for a while. We've been really trying to kind of make this relationship solid. We have a good foundation. And then the 6 of Pentacles is now about that give and take. So it can represent what you put into the relationship is what you get out of it. And that could be good or bad. But generally, this is a very generous card because it does represent where somebody is kind of filling in the cracks and kind of supporting you when you're in a situation when you're in need. And this could be financially, this could be emotionally, this could be helping kind of pick you up when you're down. This can also mean that somebody who's willing to then invest more. So it looks like 6 months from now, the relationship foundation is like doubling in a way. It's becoming more secure. It's becoming more committed. There is more of a focus in giving more, being more generous, really focusing on like investing in things that is indicating that you guys are going to be together in a more long-term fashion. Are you guys talking about moving into a house and signing financial, documents that are going to bind you? Are you guys saving money so you guys can go on a trip together? Is there a sense of somebody feeling like they're being a little bit more generous in the relationship? And so really it's what it's saying is that it's not just about being together and, like supporting each other. It's working on yourselves individually to become the best version of yourselves, encouraging each other so you get to this point where you can actually have a really healthy relationship and give each other even more. Now the Judgment card is the final card, which is interesting because it means that maybe you have it in your mind that there's a timeline, okay? And I don't know if this is the case. I don't know if you're looking at this going, okay, I've been with this guy for this long. I'm willing to give it another 3 months and we're gonna see how it's going. And then when we get to 6 months, then I wanna, lay down the law, or I wanna be like, hey, let's move in together. Or I wanna be like, hey, are we doing this? Because there is some definitive decision that's gonna be happening around 6 months from now. So I think about where we're going to be in 6 months. We're going to be in, June, July, where we're going to be seeing retrogrades in Cancer. We're going to see Jupiter leaving Cancer. It's going to go into Leo, and we're just going to see a lot of like growth that's going to be happening very, very, very quickly, especially with people who are wanting to head first into romantic relationships. The Judgment card could go either way, and the bottom card that I get as a confirmation is the Page of Coins, which is basically saying that it's like, okay, we've really gotten to a point where things are really good. Let's start talking about planting some serious seeds for the future, and probably some more future discussions that are going to be involving like long-term commitment. So it seems very practical. It seems very grounded. It seems very logical in how you're approaching the relationship. I don't know if maybe you're, dating with purpose and you're like, look, I'm giving somebody 3 months. We're going to see how it goes. If I get the impression that it's going well, then I'm going to give them another 3 months, and then that 6 month hits, and then I'm going to be like, okay, what are we doing? But you have an agenda, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I really feel like if you continue to kind of follow your gut and you're dating with intention, or you're trying to apply new habits in your relationship, I think you're going to see a lot of traction, and it only makes sense that then you would have conversations about what's next and a defining decision about the relationship, which actually looks pretty good. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Looks like I've got Silk that popped in and Stacy. So last call, guys, we're going to shut it down. What's up, Silk? Silk says, I'm curious, not saying I'm going back there, but I'm curious to know, how does or did my ex view me as a person? All right, we're gonna ask the cards. How did Silk's ex view her, or how do they view her as a person? You've got some guts. I would not want to ask the tarot that question, personally. Well, let's see. How do they view Silk? Well, you get the 5 of Wands, okay? So sometimes this can be a card that's like all bark and no bite. It's like somebody who's coming across as somebody who, can do some harm, or can be combative, or can be a problem. But like in reality, I don't necessarily think in your defense that it's necessarily as bad as maybe their perspective may be. Combative is a word that I would use with the 5 of Wands. Antagonistic, somebody who is making mountains out of molehills, somebody who is inciting conflict, or potentially kind of bringing up problems when there doesn't have to be problems. This can also represent somebody who's like hasty, or, getting ahead of themselves, or somebody who can sometimes be impatient. I know these are not things you want to hear, but like that's kind of what the 5 of Wands represents, because you see all these boys and they're kind of like play fighting, almost as if they're like, playing with swords, but it's wands. And this also represents all of the wands being in the air. So there is like this sense of there being this back and forth, and somebody who's hard to approach maybe. So it's difficult to approach, difficult to get them to open up, to drop their walls, to be vulnerable, hard to get close to, right? So these are some of the themes. So I don't know if this was some stuff that you guys had come up in your relationship, or he felt like maybe there were times that you were not approachable, or if he tried to talk to you about something that he felt like it was going to blow up. But to me, it seems like even if there was this interest in connecting, he would almost feel as if like, am I going to upset her or set her off? Or is there going to be like this whole brouhaha of kind of like rehashing the past and what has happened in the past? And is she not going to let me in? Like he may feel that there is some kind of limitation there with being let in because you're angry, rightfully so, or you're upset or you're hurt because there was a lot of not taking accountability, or there was like an immaturity that was coming through the connection with him where, and I mean, this is true, like men want peace in relationships, right? Women do too, but men want peace. But you have to consider what you're bringing to the table. If you're creating an environment where somebody is on edge, or they're not able to communicate their feelings, or they're not able to be vulnerable because they have learned that you're going to shut it down, or that you're not going to be receptive, or that you're going to antagonize them because, you know, they're more sensitive, you're creating an environment where there is not going to be peace. And so I think there is some confusion from his part, thinking like, well, she's just reactionary, when in reality, there were things that were kind of being done that I think was kind of provoking you, and you got so used to it happening that it almost became really difficult for you guys to be able to let your walls down and just be like direct with each other. So from his perspective, it looks like it's going to be hard to approach you and reconnect again. And a lot of that's because a lot of things look like they may have been left kind of unsaid. Difficult cards. Like I said, I would not want to ask the tarot that. So you have more guts than I do. Stacy. All right, so we are going to close down the queue. Thank you for getting in there, Stacy. Are you guys having sound issues? Can you hear me? Let me know. Stacy says, my coworker Samuel put my business out in public to deflect from something he did. I don't think it worked, but I still look bad. Will it be reversed? Okay, thank you guys. All right, Stacy, well, that sucks. So Samuel put you on blast and was trying to kind of take away from what he did. You feel like you look bad and you want to know if it's going to change. All right, what can we tell Stacy about this situation with Samuel? Hermit card, 7 of coins, Queen of Cups. Well, you handled it pretty well. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know if you found a way to kind of redirect the energy, or you just decided that you weren't going to react. You were just going to try to like let it kind of roll off your back. The Hermit card coming up talks about somebody who's really needing to like look within. So like you said, he said something to deflect from his own insecurities or whatever he had going on. And you're trying to look at the situation and go, I can understand why he would do that, right? And I'm mature enough to kind of shine a light on the situations and realize that, you know what, he's clearly like feeling like he's being isolated, or he's being put on the spot, or he's like insecure. So you're able to really, really reevaluate, how you want to respond to this, and if you want to kind of like lower yourself to that level. This is also about dealing with coworkers because it's a Virgo card. It's also directly connected to kind of somebody showing you their true nature or their true colors. Like, I'm not judging him. I don't know him. He's some stranger that's on the internet. But it can mean that it's like you kind of being like, I see you, dude. Like giving him that look that's like, you might, think that you're like being funny and trying to throw shade at me, but like, I see your shit. And letting him know, like through that connection, that you're like, yeah, I can see what you got going on there. The 7 of coins does talk about really reevaluating and reassessing, can I get over this? Like, can I work together and still have some sense of like a team effort and like be cool with him and not have any problems? And is it worth even making it a big deal? I don't see it harming your position at work. I don't see it harming your reputation. I do think that it's something that can be overlooked. Maybe not forgotten, but overlooked. And it's definitely like a lesson that's being learned, because the 7 of coins is being like, do I really want to invest any time trying to like be friends with this person, or trying to be like helpful with them, or like trying to be cool? Like, you're realizing that may not necessarily be the best investment of your time. And also it's like a little bit of like a cheap shot. I feel like the 7 of coins is kind of being like, really, that's all you had? Like this is all that you could come up with to try to deflect away from you, that you have to like pick on some innocent person like in the situation. She said, pulled his card kind of vibe. Yeah. I mean, I think that the 7 of Pentacles is also kind of saying like you're realizing that even if you were to say something or do something to confront him, it is not necessarily going to create a change. Like this is not going to change him as a person. He's not going to come away from this being like, oh, I learned a lesson. Like it's literally just going to blow over, like as far as he's concerned. So I wouldn't even waste my time. I feel like the Queen of Cups coming up is saying that intuitively, you know that clearly he's insecure. He feels wounded. His ego got bruised. Like there's something that happened and you're like able to look at it and be understanding and compassionate to an extent. But you do it once, that's one thing. You're willing to overlook it. You do it again. And a queen is going to be somebody who's going to be like, yeah, now I'm not going to be so friendly. Although she is the friendliest of all the queens. She is willing to overlook things. She is willing to also see the emotional side of it. She is intuitive. She's able to pick up on what's going on. But I think it's about meeting some of this personal self-dissatisfaction or insecurity with compassion and being like, I pity you that you would have to pick on somebody who would never, say or do anything like that to you, that you have to do it to me. That says a lot about who you are as a person, right? There's a way to be able to, I think, kind of like have your perspective or speak up for yourself should you have to do it in the future without feeling like you have to be mean. It's kind of like holding up a mirror, especially because the Queen of Cups is reflective. So it's kind of like you being like, what does that say about you? Kind of like reversed psychology that you're going to be pulling on him. I don't think you're going to be investing too much in trying to be focusing on a relationship outside of work or trying to feel like you want to mend something or kind of like teach him a lesson. It's going to go in one ear out the other. So don't waste your time. Focus more on kind of just looking at him being like, yep, I see what you're doing, because that in itself is going to make him kind of go like, oh, okay. Like he'll avoid you almost, like if he continues to act like that. Like he's not going to want to be around you because you're going to make it so clear that you see through his kind of like shtick. So good for you. It looks like you're able to, take the high road, especially in a situation where it was like completely unnecessary. And also, I don't know what it was, but like 7 of Pentacles is like, well, you're giving me a hard time for not being able to do this. Well, she can't do that, or she screwed up on this, or like, you want to talk about my shortcomings. Well, she did. It's stupid. It's petty. 7 of Coins is super petty. It's not anything that's going to make him look better. If anything, it just kind of makes him look like an asshole, and somebody who's not capable of being able to kind of handle something, because clearly he felt like he was at a disadvantage in some way, or that he had like less to offer. And so he felt insecure. But you're going to be fine. It's going to be blowing over. You trump, because you're a queen, you trump all of this. And I think maybe he needs to do some soul searching, especially if he has another couple encounters with other people. I don't think he's going to do it with you, but if he has other encounters with other people are going to be like, what's up with this guy? Anyway, hopefully that's helpful. Glad to see that you're able to be the queen in that situation. So we called last call. That's everybody. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Friday. I appreciate it. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, like this video, hit the bell button, and subscribe to the channel, because I'm always here on Fridays doing tarot or astrology. And don't forget to join me on a Sunday and probably again on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Next Friday is going to be live astrology for the new moon in Capricorn. So join the membership, subscribe to the channel. You want to see more about me and my work, click the links below, head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. And please very much, oh, hold on, am I missing something? Hello, I sent a payment. I just did your reading, Stacy, you'll see it. It was the last one. Please check out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com if you want to get a personal tarot astrology reading with me. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys very soon. Take care.